I often get the question, what type of school is the best? Specifically for my child. All right. And I have all sorts of people asking me, homeschool, private school, you name it, they're asking. And I oftentimes I tell them it boils down to one thing. What type of parent are you? Okay. What type of parent are you? Guess what? Doesn't matter what school they're in. It doesn't matter how much funding the school has. What matters is who you are as a parent and how you are going to lead your child to success, no matter what type of schooling they're in. All right. So of course, we've all seen situations where in public school, well, I personally seen situations in public school where kids excel, right? And then I've also seen where kids have failed. All right, in all three systems, public, private, and homeschool. But one thing, those kids who are having trouble or who are struggling in school in general, no matter what type of school they're in, they have one thing in common, and that is parent involvement. Okay? Usually it's like it's not an easy fix, but usually these type of things is what gears a child to be successful when it comes to their education and to be unsuccessful. All right? So how can your child do amazing no matter what school system they're in? And who is to blame for that? Or who can we call to for their success? It's you. You are the person who can help your child with their educational destiny. And today, that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, I want to show you why parent involvement matters more than the type of school you choose. Share some real stories, a little bit of research, and then also just some practical steps to become the kind of parent who makes all the difference in your child's education. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. If you are new here, hi, my name is Miss Asia. I am a former public school teacher of over 10 years of classroom and teaching experience. And now I'm officially a newbie, second generation homeschool mom. Okay, so yes, I was homeschooled at one point. Now I'm homeschooling my children. I have literally personally been through public, private, and homeschool. So I kind of can gauge things a little different, I think, than the average person who hasn't been through all those schools, along with my teaching experience to really help you guys just navigate through this education realm. So thank you so much for being here. On this channel, I share helpful nuggets of wisdom to equip parents, whether homeschool, you choose private school, you choose public school. I want you guys to be confident, informed, and active in your child's learning, because at the end of the day, you are your child's first and most important teacher. All right, so if you want to raise learners who thrive, make sure you subscribe, and let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. So let's go ahead and start with one thing: breaking the myth of school type. Okay, I know a lot of people, even me, if you look on my channel, you're like, hey, you just did a video on why you love the public school system. Yes. But all in all, even with the broken public school system, even if you decide to, spend money on private school, even if you decide to homeschool your kids, at the end of the day, if your child is only successful based on who you are as a parent and how you help them through their educational journey. Okay? So, like, for example, in public school, I've seen the most hardworking, confident students excel. And then I've also seen kids struggle year after year, right? It doesn't look like they're growing much, right? In private school, I know a lot of people, they think that the high ticket item, being able to pay those thousands of dollars for your child to be educated and still have your child still leave private school and not being able to read. I've seen it. All right. In homeschool communities, everybody knows that successful homeschool family whose kids are already starting college. And it's like the kids are like 14 to 16 years old already, and they're already starting college. They're doing well, right? And then you have another type of homeschool family you probably came across where it seems like they're kind of behind, right? So they're 10 years old, can barely read. Or, you can just kind of tell, like, hey, like, the parent needed to be more consistent, or something's not working. The commitment's not there, the rigor, something. Okay? So we have successes and failures in all three types of schooling. And it comes down to one thing, like I keep saying, parent involvement. What type of parent are you, and how are you helping your child succeed in school? So I have some research for you here that kind of goes along with this. Again, it's not the school type, but it's this parent involvement. According to Harvard Family Research Project, they found that the parent involvement is one of the strongest predictors of student achievement, more than income level, school funding, or even teacher quality. Students with engaged parents are more likely to get higher grades, attend school regularly, graduate, and perform better learning outcomes, okay? So the real question is not what school system should I choose? Like, which one should I go along with? It is, how am I going to show up for my child no matter what type of school system they are in, or what type of schooling I decide for my child? Okay, that is the question. How are you going to show up as a parent? And of course, it's going to look a little bit different for each type, but you just got to be dedicated. All right. So here, now we're going to really dig into, what parent involvement really means. Okay, so what does parent involvement really mean? And no, I'm not talking about you hovering over your child, doing their homework, that type of stuff, like kind of like the negative aspects of it. No, I'm talking about setting clear expectations, partnering with teachers, tutors, co-op leaders, whatever, to really help your child get the best learning outcome, being knowledgeable about the content your child is learning, creating a home learning environment that doesn't just stop at the school, or doesn't just stop when the homeschool day is over, but they're continually learning over and over and over. Okay, showing your child that, and also, last but not least, showing your child that you value education. All right, is education important to you? And does your child know that? Right? Does your child see you educating yourself on a regular basis, and that you are a lifelong learner? Right? Do you practice what you preach when it comes to education? Those are the type of questions you should be asking to see, all right, how am I involved as a parent, and am I really fitting the bill? All right. So so going back again with my experience as a teacher, I can often tell, especially with different students and so forth, I can often tell like which parents are involved and which ones aren't. It's pretty blatant. It's pretty straightforward. It's like night and day, right? So to me, key indicators is, one, is the child motivated to be in school in the first place? All right. Most of the time, I could just tell. I put my finger on it. Okay, so let me give you an example. So I can tell within probably the first 2 weeks if a parent is going to be involved or not. Okay, and that is, how interested are they in their child's work? How interested are they in how well the student's doing, not just at the end of the school year, right, when report cards are due and testing, and all of a sudden retention letters are going out. Retention letters are the letters that tell that if you're going to be retained or not, right? No, but they're consistently checking in, like, hey, how's Rebecca doing in the class? Like, is she doing well? Like, how is she doing social emotionally? Like, what are some things that I can be doing at home? I love those type of conversations. Parents that come to parent-teacher conferences or come to the school nights and so forth, and come in and be like, hey, like, what are some things that I could be doing at home? Right? And even when I tutor kids that are homeschooled, I tutor kids that are in private school. And a lot of times, guess what? Even those that tutor, that choose me as a tutor, we're having conversations about their child's learning all the time. Okay? Because I also vet, and I also make sure that parent involvement is part of the process, because I know that makes the child more successful. But just showing up for their child's learning, asking questions. All right? On the other hand, the ones that are not involved, I barely hear from them, right? I try to call, no answer, right? The child is oftentimes really not, say for example, you have to, you're trying to get the child to adhere to the rules and so forth. They're very defiant with the rules. And even if you're saying, hey, I'm probably gonna have to call your parents or whatever, they're like, oh, they don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, saying things like that. That indicates to me, yes, the parent is not very involved. All right. And it kind of goes even farther than that. So, yes. So with those experiences, parent involvement really matters. And I saw so many things. I've seen, there was one story I can think of off the top of my head, and it still resonates with me to this day. I had a student that was an immigrant, and she and her parents were they were new to the United States. They didn't even know any English. But when I say this family worked so hard to make sure that this child had everything she needed, understood the concepts, was translating. We were going back and forth translating through different things, and I was just trying to get different types of resources for them so that they can kind of teach her in the language to kind of really help bridge the gap a little bit. And I was over here trying to learn Spanish, and it was a whole thing. But their hard work allowed for that child, even though she just learned English that year, she was performing higher than, I would say, 60 to 70% of my students in that class, all right, who already knew English, right? So it just goes to show, if your parents show up for you, you can succeed, right? You can succeed. And I know those parents out there, if you're thinking, oh, I don't know, this seems a little daunting, you can do it. You can show up for your child, and you can put in the work, and you can have great results. Okay, so section 3, we're going to talk about common excuses versus reality. So I've heard so many excuses on why parents say that they can't show up in all aspects. Okay, the work's too hard. I don't have time. That's not my job. As a teacher, y'all know how many times I said that I've heard that. That's not my job. That's the teacher's job. I don't know where to start. Just excuse after excuse after excuse. A very pessimistic attitude. But here's the reality. Your child doesn't need perfection. They just need you to show up. That's all they need, right? Too busy? Even 10 minutes of focused attention can make a world of difference, okay? Spending time to learn along with your child, all right? I don't get this math. I've heard that so many times. I don't get this new math. I don't get how this is going. I don't understand. Take the time to sit next to your child and understand, all right? We have YouTube University. We have the internet. We have Google. We have tutors. We have so many resources, free resources and paid, right? You can even pay someone to kind of walk you through this process as well. I know a lot of tutors love to work hand in hand with parents to really gauge a personalized plan to help their child succeed in whatever concept they're trying to learn, right? But take that time, okay? No, it's not just the teacher's job. No, it's not just the tutor's job, okay? Even if your child is homeschooled and they're doing online work, guess what? The instructor or the computer system that they're doing, that's not just their job for your child to learn. It's still up to you to make sure that you are keeping your child accountable, to perform well on those online programs, to show up, and also to practice whatever they're learning online or whoever's teaching them online outside of you, that they are still understanding that. And that's even if you don't use that, say you are the main teacher, that is what you're doing. You are consistently and constantly making sure you're gauging your child's learning journey and how they understand different concepts. So yes, that is important. We don't have time for excuses. You don't have time for excuses, because guess what? You have excuses, then your child has excuses as well. And guess what? When they fail, they're gonna be like, oh, see, I can't do it, right? They're gonna have the same attitude you have. So you are the model for your child. Go ahead and model for your child what that looks like. You can do it, right? And if you've been struggling with that personally, and you're like, hey, that's something that I really need to work on. There are books for mindset, for growth mindset. There are different things that can help you like develop self, right, in order to be better. And I know if you're a Christian out there, or if you're a believer like I am, the main thing even though I'm a teacher and I have all the experience, guess what? There's times where I'm stuck, right? Where I'm like, all right, God, like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay. But guess what? I'll probably be like, all right, God, you show me what I need to do for this student or for my own kids, or whatever case may be. And you show me. And sometimes it's not in the laptop. Sometimes it's not in the book. Sometimes it's in the creator. So that's a little word for somebody. But anyway, let me not preach over here. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next thing. We're going to go to, let me just kind of reiterate. No excuses. You can do it. So yes, when kids struggle, the solution isn't just pointing to the school, it's looking in the mirror and asking, how can I show up differently? Okay? it goes right back on you. All right. There's too many people here in the world who's always blaming other outside sources. No, we have to be accountable for our kids, even when it comes to education. No, you might not have all the answers, but trust me, if you just put in that effort, it'll come, especially if you really want things to change and turn around for the betterment of your child's education. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next thing. So here's some practical ways to stay involved and to be that involved parent, right? So, so here are 3 powerful ways you can be more involved starting today, okay? So number 1 is be informed and present. So set academic and character goals, okay? That's one way. You can learn what is expected for their grade level, for their age, what type of milestones they need to conquer, right? What are some things they need to work on socially and emotionally so that they will be more prepared to get the rigorous work done, all right? There's a lot of different things. Some kids, y'all know y'all kids. Some kids, it's attitude thing. Some kids, it's really academic thing. Some kids, it's just some differentiation, right? So maybe if your child is, maybe they're in an EC program, or if you notice they're a little behind, now is the time to get acclimated and to learn some different approaches to help your child depending on like what they need individually. Okay, build relationships. This is so important. Build relationships with tutors, teachers, co-op leaders, your children's friends, all right? The people that they hang around with and so forth. Just people that you know that are going to pour into your child educationally outside of yourself. Make sure you're working very closely with them and even ask them, hey, what are you doing? Can you help me out so I can help them, right? And also, this can also be not just physical people, but also different types of resources, right? Different videos. Maybe it's an older sibling, right? Saying you're like, hey, this math is not clicking. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I need a little bit of help. Maybe one of their siblings, they're really good at whatever you need help on. So maybe you can have their sibling even teach. I remember being in the classroom and I always told all my students, guess what? Everyone in here is a teacher. You are able to impact whoever you can. All right. And sometimes the way I say things, it might be too teachery. I don't know. It might be too complex for some students. Right. And so they come in, their friend sits down with them and says, hey, this is how I do it. This is, and it works. As long as it gets the same, we get to the same answer. And honestly, it doesn't matter how we got there. Right. So it just depends. So getting whoever is going to be an advocate, not an advocate, but someone who, well, you're the advocate, but whoever is going to be around your child, that's going to help with their education journey, a sibling, a teacher, a tutor, go ahead and build that relationship with them so that you guys can excel. Okay. So that is for number 1, be informed and present. Of course, just be there. That is another thing. All right. Number 2, make learning a lifestyle at home. Okay. Sometimes even now that I'm homeschooling, I'd be like, oh, it's 1 o'clock. We are done. Right. But no, learning is never done. We're always doing reinforcement. Even today, we went outside and we're learning about the different seasons changing. I literally spent 5 minutes with my toddlers, my pre-K and my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old, telling them about the changes of the leaves. Okay? Learning does not have to stop when school ends. Okay? Homeschool parents, public school parents, private, it don't matter. They should always be learning all the time and reinforcing whatever they're learning from school, right? And even, of course, outside of academics and so forth, just life lessons as well. That's a great opportunity to continue to pour into them that way. Your values, your morals, different things that's really going to help them stay self-motivated and help them really show up when it comes to education. So yes, so make learning a lifestyle. So education doesn't stop when the school day ends, like I said. Talk about science at the park, which I just told you about the leave thing. Do grocery shopping. When you do grocery shopping, maybe you have a middle school kid. They understand numbers and so forth. Have them budget. Have them say, hey, how much this and this cost? Do we have enough money? Here's $150. Do we have enough for what we have here? Right? Can you make a list of all the amounts and stuff? Like doing little things like that to really help them with life skills along with math skills. And guess what? You guys are building relationships, building connections with one another, teaching your child about, these different mathematical reading principles, and it's like a wow moment that really motivates your child to just, hey, learning doesn't have to stop at school. I can be learning all the time, right? And it's a great thing to have. All right. Also, bring up current events at dinner. Show your child that learning is everywhere. All right. Reading. I always tell this too. You're wondering, my child doesn't read. Ask yourself, are you reading? My child doesn't write. How much are you writing? Right? My child just gives up easily. They're learning that from somewhere. And most of the time, it is us. Okay. I like my son the other day. He said some phrase. What did he say? He said, "Oh my gosh," right? And I was like, where did he get that? Do I even say that? Right? And then they'll say something and I'm like, okay, maybe I do say, "Oh my gosh," once in a while. But they pick up whatever you're doing, right? So if you're modeling that at home, you're modeling that education is valuable and that once you leave the classroom or the class time, education doesn't stop. They continue to learn without any bars or guards, okay? So yes, be that example so that they can follow suit. Number 3, develop a resilient parent mindset. Okay, I think this is one thing that I see with a lot of parents that is just sabotaging their kids. And at the end of the day, yes, you might have some things working against you. Things are expensive. Whatever your excuse may be, showing your kids that you're resilient no matter what and that you're still able to get things done when it comes to their education, when it comes to life, is a skill that's really going to set them up for success at the end of the day. Because guess what? You're either going to pass down a pessimistic, unresilient, fixed mindset, right? Meaning that they're just going to just feel like nothing they do can help them excel. And once they're in that mindset, it's just going to go down from there. Okay. However, if they have a resilient mindset and they say, you know what, I might have these things going against me. I might be going through some challenges, but you know what? I can overcome any of this. My mom and dad taught me that. So I could at least do that. I could at least try. I could at least shoot for the stars, right? And no matter what, knowing that, hey, even though something's hard, if I practice it enough, if I learn and I put forth my best effort, I can get there, right? So if you want your children to think like that, you have to start thinking like that as well and not making any excuses. It doesn't matter that the school system is broken, all right? It doesn't matter that they're not giving enough funding, all right? It doesn't matter. Whatever's going on that's going to stop your child from learning. Now, if it's something like, obviously, I'm talking about some crazy situations like bullying or something like that, or, other things that it really does affect them, things like that, like, obviously, follow suit and do what you need to do to make sure your child's out of those situations. But anything that they can control, right, and their mindset has anything to do with it, because before you can accomplish anything, your mind has to believe you can do it, right? So as a parent, you have to believe, hey, I can learn this stuff to teach my child. As a parent, you have to learn, hey, I can, be there for my kid. And, it's hard. I know it's been probably 20 years since I was in high school, but I can do it. All right. YouTube University, pick up a couple of books, get yourself a great place to start. I know a lot of people, they start with a curriculum. For you homeschool parents, start with a curriculum. Not only just read over that curriculum, but study that curriculum, right? Especially if you're new at teaching your child and so forth. Study that curriculum. Study the different teaching methods and different things like that, teaching philosophies, etc., to really educate yourself enough so that you can be there for your child in whatever way possible. My public school parents, and even some homeschool parents as well, if you want a nice guideline in private school. I know this may be a little controversial, but looking at those standards, okay? Yes, I know that's a whole thing. We can always I'm going to a deeper video about the standards. But not saying that the standards the end all be all, but it's a good guide. All right, and I'm actually going to show that in a couple of videos in the future. Looking at the standards saying, oh, what does the average second grader need to know in the public school system? Let me check that out. Okay, Arkansas State Standards, second grade or something like that. Whatever grade your child is in, or whatever grade level, or however you're doing it. Whatever's closest to where your child is developmentally. Oh, they need to know how to break apart numbers. Oh, they need to know how to decompose. Oh, they need to know characters and themes. How to decode, fluency. Oh, whatever. All right. Those things is going to help you be successful and taking that time to learn. Okay? So don't doubt your ability. Learn alongside your child things that you don't know. Read, listen to podcasts, research solutions, model resilience. I'm saying that again. Model resilience. When you don't know, say, you know what? I might not know right now, but I'm going to figure it out. Okay? Okay, if you're, and of course, obviously, if you're a believer and you feel unqualified, God equips you through his strength and shows our weaknesses, and we are strong through him. Okay? So if you feel unqualified, guess what? God qualifies you, okay? Because he can do it, all right? He knows all of that, all right? Anything that all the stuff that we're tripping about as far as education and child rearing and stuff, he know all the answers, so ask him, okay? At the end of the day, if you're really stuck. Because sometimes, like I said, the book is not enough. Sometimes I need to go to the Father and be like, all right, God, like, what do I need to do? All right? So, yes, develop a resilient parent mindset. Okay, so, and then I have, of course, I'm going to go to some real life stories that I had. So I told you about my ESL student already. I also noticed that this is a big story that just keeps resonating in my mind. I had a student, he was very exceptional. He was basically AIG. So if you don't know what AIG is, that means that he was very talented and gifted. So his brain worked like at a higher level than the average student, all right? And he was doing so well. He was excelling. The only thing is he had a couple of little behavior hiccups, but overall just an amazing student. However, that was the beginning. However, I noticed that as the year went on, it's just like when I tried to reach out to the parents, they wouldn't show up. And I was saying, hey, we're really trying to, get him into this AIG program. So I think actually he was AIG qualified, but he just didn't get into the program. But I was like, hey, we're trying to get him to the program. We just need you to kind of work on this with him, or, just kind of talk to the parents saying, hey, like, basically telling them in a roundabout way, like, your child is something really special. Well, all children are something special, but he has a gift and it needs to be cultivated, right? And he needs you. He needs your support. He needs you to be like, speaking into him and stuff. There was a lot of things that happened as far as parent involvement. I noticed that the parent was more like pessimistic with the child, and I just found that type of thing, and it seemed like because the parent was not showing up like she needed to show up for the child, social, emotionally, academically, etc. All of a sudden, he just started just going down. All right, it's like he didn't care. It's like he gave up because it seems like his parents gave up on him, right? And it was just so sad to see. And I had to have like conversation with him, and I can only do so much, as an outside teacher, but really trying to encourage him, saying, hey, you have potential, you can do it, right? No matter what, etc. But it just goes to show, even if your child is gifted, if that parent is not there and supporting them and trying to help them to be the better version of themselves and challenging them and being that rigorous educational figure for them, it could all turn around, and it can turn out to be quite devastating for the child at the end of the day. Both educationally, social, emotionally, spiritually, all that. So yes, it was very interesting. And then last but not least, I also had another story where I had a student. He was actually qualified EC, so I guess he was like 2 or 3 grade levels behind at one point. And his parents were not playing. Okay, they were like, hey, what extra work do we need to do? Send home packets. What online resources can we do? And I love teaching. When the parents come in and say, hey, what can I do? I'm like, let's go ahead and have a little conference so I can show you how to do this. And not just like giving them like paperwork or whatever, like showing them strategies, teaching methods and stuff so that they can really help their child thrive. And when I tell you that child did so well that they actually they were discussing and going through the process of exiting him out of the EC services. So anybody who is in the school system and your child's in EC, you'd be surprised what home education can do, okay? And I saw it for myself, all right? Yes, you can be exited out of the program. Yes, they might label your child with learning disability, but that does not mean that that's the end-all, be-all, okay? Of course, some students, of course, they stay in the program to kind of obviously help them with the leg up and so forth. But honestly, if your child is progressing and they are with their peers and doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're not behind and they're caught up, like, what can they do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what can they do? So it was just amazing to see how that parent involvement turned that whole child's situation around. Those of you guys that are homeschooled and maybe you took out your child out of public school, whatever, because I've heard this quite often and quite a bit, you know, child had a learning disability, ADHD, whatever the case may be, and, you know, they were slacking or they were lacking in the school system or the case may be, and they weren't performing well. You have the key to turn that all around. I've seen it, especially y'all homeschool parents. Y'all just, I'm not saying, you know, it just depends on the type of parent you are in general, but I'm just saying it was, I've seen it in the public school system, but I've seen some homeschool parents turn it around too for their kids, right? That where someone labels them as something, and then all of a sudden they performing just as good, if not better, than the average student. Like, it's just amazing to see. So yes, keep showing up, and it can be done. Anything can be done. You just have to have the mindset to do it. All right. So here's my final encouragement and challenge. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if your child is in public school, private school, or homeschool. What matters is whether you, mom, dad, guardian, show up. Okay, show up for those kids. Show up for those babies. Okay? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know it all. Okay? You don't need a teaching degree. Okay? You need to be willing, consistent, and present. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one way this week to be more involved. Maybe it's checking homework. Maybe it's asking your child what they're learning. Maybe it's picking up an educational book to really get better at that math or that reading or the science of reading, or to understand your teaching philosophy and homeschool a little bit better. Whatever that is, small steps lead to big change. All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this helpful, please give me a like, share with someone who might find this valuable, or who might, and then share with friend for encouragement, and of course drop a comment down below. Also, I would love to hear what's one way, if you do decide to do a comment, what's one way you're involved in your child's education, or one area you want to grow in. I'd love to hear from you in those comments. Okay, so remember, keep learning, keep showing up, and never forget, you are the difference in your child's education. All right, God bless, and I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.